We're almost there. We've almost wrapped up our application, just a little bit more. The next thing I want to work on is some styling on the modal. So again, no styling by default. We've really got to amp this thing up ourselves. As before, we're going to toss the styling on here. Not a ton of stuff to learn about the styling. Again, with React Native, you just kind of throw it on there and you're happy with it. So let's define our styles object at the bottom. And we're going to have three different styles. We're going to have a card section style. So this is going to be something that we're going to pass to the card section. We'll have a text style. This will be for the text that we show at the top to kind of ask a user a question. And then finally, we'll have a container style. Now this is the most important one right here, the container style. The container style is what is going to actually give us that nice kind of dark background that the user can see through and see all the content behind it. So with the card section style, all we have to do here, justify content, center. By default, the card section uses justify content flex start. We want to make sure that we center the content in there. That's why we're doing justify content center. Next, for the text, we'll do a flex 1. This makes sure that the text can properly wrap on the page. We'll use a font size of 18, which is consistent with the font size we've used everywhere else. We'll align the text in the center of the screen. And finally, we'll give it a line height of 40. The line height is how much space is placed in between each line of text. And for us, functionally, it's just going to give us a little bit of spacing between the text whenever it happens to wrap around the page. Next, we'll add a container style. So we'll do a background color. Now here's where the magic comes from. I'm going to give it a string with RGBA 000 0.75. So the reason, sorry about that. The reason I say this is the magic is the last value on here. So RGB, we're passing in 000, which is black. 0.75 means give us an opacity of 3/4. This is going to make the container look just a little bit see-through, which is exactly what we want. Next, we'll give a position, position of relative, a flex of 1, so it takes up the whole width of the screen, and we'll tell it justify content center. Justify content of center is what's going to make everything inside of that container appear centered on the screen. So the card sections will be centered on the screen. Okay, last thing we have to do on here is make sure that we actually apply these styles. Because we've got a hefty number of them, I'm going to destructure them ahead of time and then apply them on each of these elements. So we'll pull out our container style, our text style, and our card section style as well. And those all come off of our styles object. Now our view is going to get the container style. Our card section will get the, you guessed it, card section style. Don't forget to apply it to only the first one. We want only the first card section style to center the text on the screen. Then we want our text to get the text style. Cool. All right, I think that's about it. Now we did all the development of this component basically in a black box. We didn't really test it as we went through. So we're definitely going to want to get this on the screen as soon as possible so we can test it out and make sure we're doing the right thing here. So let's flip back over to our employee edit and place this thing on the screen. We've already hooked up that confirm to our index common file. So here's all of our imports from common. We will also pull in that confirm, the thing that we just created. Now we'll scroll on down to the bottom where we're going to place it. So this is what I like so much about this, this modal. All we have to do is place it somewhere in this component. So I'm just going to place it down here. Here's my confirm. And then we'll pass it some text. Are you sure you want to delete this? Now here's the really important thing, the very important aspect of this. the confirm by default is not visible until we pass it a prop of visible, right? We have to pass it like visible equals true. So I can just toss this thing in here at any point in time, and it will not be visible until I specifically toggle it to be visible. That's what's so fantastic about this confirm box that we just built. So I want to make sure that the user can only see this after they tap that delete button, right? So I think that we will make a new card section. We'll place a button in it, and instead of saying like text schedule, save changes, it will say just fire employee or fire or delete, whatever we want it to say. So above the confirm message, we'll place a card section. This will contain a button that says, I think I'll go with fire employee. Just be really clear about what it does. All right, so now the last big challenge here. Last big challenge as it relates to the modal anyways, let's be honest here. The last big challenge. How do we make sure that the confirm is not visible by default? Remember, we have to pass this thing a visible flag. So we are telling from employee edit when this thing should be visible. It shouldn't be visible all the time. We only sometimes want it to be visible. So to toggle the visibility of this thing, it needs to go between true and false. And that needs to be flipped whenever we press this button right here. So I don't know about you, but this sounds like a great case for component level state to me. And you might say, Steve, wait a minute. Component level state, what are you talking about? I thought we only use Redux now. Well, we don't only have to use Redux everywhere. The visibility of this confirm message, it does not concern any other aspect of our application whatsoever. And so maybe it really doesn't belong in application level state. So I think that we will add in a new piece of state called, I don't know, maybe modal visible, show modal. How about show modal? And if it's true, then the modal should be displayed. Otherwise, it should not be. So let's give that a shot. We will first initialize our piece of state up at the top. So I'll say state show modal, and by default, I do not want it to be visible, so I will initialize it to false. Now down inside my modal again, I will say this thing's visibility should be determined by this .state.show modal. Now all we have to do is set up a press handler on our button to toggle the value of show modal. Let's do that really quickly just because it's so easy, and we can then go ahead and test this out in our simulator. So we'll say on press, and there's really no need to make a handler here. We can just flip the value of it. So I'll say this .set state show modal is going to be the opposite of this .state.show modal. So, this did end up being pretty long right here. I'm going to leave it up to you as to whether or not you want to pull it out to a separate helper method. This is really pushing the bounds of what I think would be a responsible length for this. All right, so I think that we're just about set to test this thing out. I'm going to save. Let's refresh our simulator. I will log in. Oh, got a typo. I will tap on my employee. Here's our fire employee down at the bottom. I'll tap it, and boom, we get our modal message popping up to the user. So are you sure you want to delete this? And then we can either press yes or no. Now, at present, we are not passing in that on accept or on decline handler. So if we click on any one of these, I expect that it'll crash. Nope, it doesn't. Okay, we're good in that regard. But certainly there's no way to dismiss this message just yet. So let's continue the next section and make sure that we add in the on press handler for each of these buttons.